With the announcement of Palworld's biggest update yet coming out in December of 2024, many fans of the game are excited and getting prepared for the future challenges this update holds. That being said, besides a couple of minor details about what we can expect to see, there are still many things about this update that the fans are left in the dark about. So today I want to speculate on some of the major things we can expect to see once this new island is released. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Speakerhead, and today I want to talk about 8 things we can expect to see in Palworld's December update. But before getting into this discussion, just a friendly reminder that if you enjoy any of the music you hear during this video or just want to support the channel in general, it's all part of my DMCA free music label, Speakerhead Studios. This is a music label I created and run where all the songs on it are completely DMCA free, so go ahead and use any of these tracks for your content creating needs. We currently have over 70 songs available with more added frequently, so if you're interested in checking that out, all the links will be in the description below. But with that out of the way, let's get back to the discussion. Now, from what the developers mentioned about this update, all we know at the moment is that we'll be getting an island that's 6 times the size of Sakurajima Island, new powerful bosses will be added, and powerful new species of pals will be lurking on this island. Obviously, this tells us almost nothing about what's actually going to be in this update. However, we can definitely make some solid guesses on what we might see based on previous updates. So the main update I'll be referencing in this video is the Sakurajima update, mainly because this is the only other major update we've gotten in the game so far. Based on what we got in that update, along with the developers specifically mentioning the new island is going to be 6 times the size of Sakurajima Island, it's safe to assume that we'll be getting similar content like the previous update, just on a much larger scale. But without further ado, let's actually start talking about what we might see in this December update. So the first thing we can expect to see is an increase in both player and pal levels. Now, even though this island is 6 times bigger than the previous one, I don't think everything else will be increased by 6 times, which leads me to think that we'll most likely see an increase of about 15 to 20 levels in this update. For starters, with how much XP players needed just to level up 5 levels in the previous update, it's hard for me to see them adding more than 20 levels, since that alone will take many players a long time to reach that max level. On top of that, assuming we'll be getting more pals and weapons in this update, the developers need to add new slots in the technology line to unlock said weapons along with any pal items that need to be built. And with around 4 to 6 items being added every level, having around 80 to 120 new items for players to unlock seems like a fairly reasonable amount of items to be added during this update. But moving on to my second prediction now, and that's going to be having new biomes of all 3 types. In the Sakurajima update, we got a pretty decent sized island with neutral climate throughout the entire island. That being said, with how massive this new island will be, I believe we'll get new hot and cold environments as well. Unfortunately, none of the images they provided us about the update has details about any new environments besides one picture of Warsec Terra, which shows a cool but pretty generic grassy area. However, based on the first image we got of some pals looking at a tower in the distance, it seems likely they're in some sort of mountain area, so there is a chance that they're part of some massive mountain with a snowy peak for new ice pals. That being said, something we can definitely see in this picture is that the tower that's visible has a bunch of spiked rocks coming from it. Now, when I first saw this, I thought this might be the tower location in the desert region we already have, but after looking at it more closely, it reminds me more of the rocky formations at the Sanctuary Islands. So it could be possible that by that tower is where we'd have a more rocky and potentially hotter environment for new ground and fire pals. But regardless of where these new climates will be located, I can almost guarantee that we'll be getting more than just a neutral climate throughout this new island. So the next prediction I have about this update is about new weapons and armor we'll be getting. Now, based on my predictions on the level increase we'll be getting, I'm also predicting that we'll be getting 1 or possibly even 2 new sets of armor. While the level gap between getting new types of armor is roughly around 5 levels, as we get into even higher levels, it's likely they would start making the gaps between armor larger. Especially with the current best shield we have, the Ultra Shield, already being legendary status, it's hard to see how they could give us better armor and equipment past what we already have. The only way I could see them adding more armor and equipment than what I'm predicting is if they either add a new rarity to items, or decrease the rarity of the current legendary items we have. As for weapons, my guess will be they'll add some more laser weapons to use along with some other useful types of weapons. Some examples of weapons I could see them adding during this update are a full auto laser rifle or even a laser minigun, a railgun, and potentially some other elemental weapons such as a freeze or poison gun of some kind. This is also something I'd personally like to see, but I think it would be cool to have a couple of more late game melee weapons added to the game as well. Finally, I could also see them adding new tools to help collect resources better, since most refined tools become completely useless after you're at max level. But no matter what types of armor or weapon they decide to add during this update, we should expect to need a new type of metal to build these items, which leads me into my next prediction of new resources being added to the game. Besides at least one new type of metal being added, I could also see there being new PAL specific items, new types of building material for different types of structures, along with other late game resources similar to oil that would be needed to make high-end equipment. I obviously can't list every little item they might add in this update, but it's safe to say these types of resources will need to be added if they plan on adding better armor and equipment into the game. Now my next predictions are about the pals for this update. The first prediction I want to talk about is how many pals we'll be getting during this update. In the last major update we got, there was a total of 24 pals that were added, with 10 of them being elemental variants of already existing pals. That being said, in this update it's safe to assume that we'll be getting many more pals added. Based on how big the new island is going to be along with previous update statistics, I predict that we'll be getting somewhere between 50 to 80 new pals, with around 20 to 30 of them being elemental variants of currently existing pals. I also think that out of all these pals that'll be added, one of them will be a new legendary pal as well. The reason why is because we haven't gotten a new legendary pal since the game was first released, so it wouldn't surprise me if we got a new legendary pal that stands along the 4 other ones we currently have. Along with getting many new pals in this update, I'm betting we'll also get a new element type as well. While there's nothing wrong with the amount of element types we have right now, I could definitely see there being more element types added to add some diversity to pals. For example, I could easily see them adding a poison type, since the dark type is already a mix of dark and poison, with them having a blinding effect along with poison effects. On top of this, out of all the pals we currently have, dark type is currently the most common, with almost 20% of pals having this typing. But whether it be a poison type or not, I think there will definitely be a new element type added into the game. So something else I think we'll also be seeing in this update is new humans also being added. With different human enemies being associated with every tower boss, it wouldn't surprise me if along with the new tower bosses we also got new human enemies. We can also assume that there will be new merchants added as well. Whether that be a new type of merchant such as the metal merchant we got in the previous update, or just some normal merchants with some different varieties of items to sell us, we can expect to see some sort of new merchant in this update. But sticking with the topic of humans being added, when it comes to the tower bosses we'll be getting, my prediction is that we'll most likely be getting 2 different tower bosses. Even though this new island will be massive, I don't think there will be enough space to have 3 distinct locations for towers on the island. Plus, most of the tower bosses are pretty spread out from each other, so I think it would be pretty strange to have 3 of them all clumped together. There is a chance they could try to put 3 tower bosses on this island, but my last prediction relates to why I think there will only be 2 tower bosses. But my last prediction is that along with getting 2 new tower bosses, we'll be getting at least a new raid boss added during this update as well. With raid bosses being just as, if not more challenging than tower bosses, having a new raid boss or 2 to challenge us alongside the new tower bosses would make sense considering what they've done in the previous updates. And if they did decide to add 2 raid bosses during this update, what would most likely happen is we would get a brand new raid boss design and a new elemental variant of a previously existing pal, such as what they did with Blazemut Ryu. But once again, I definitely think we'll be getting at least 1 new raid boss added during this update. But that's going to be all my thoughts on what we can expect to see in this massive December update, so let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know what you're most excited for about this update, and let me know what you're doing to prepare for it. Also, once again, if you enjoyed any of the music you heard during this video or just want to support the channel in general, it's all part of my DMCA free music label, Speakerhead Studios, which you can check out on the links down below. So once again, that's all I have to say for now, so thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch all y'all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody.